channel, Andra Makes. I have a pattern review for you today, so thanks so much for tuning in to watch. It really means a lot to me and it encourages me to keep going with YouTube. The pattern I'm going to be reviewing today is Simplicity 8601. And I'll be focusing on view A, this one right here, because that's the one I made. And the shirt I'm wearing is Butterick 6665. And I have a pattern review for it on my channel if you're interested. But back to Simplicity 8601, I'm going to be going over the pattern envelope with you and showing you the pattern pieces. And then I'll show you my tops I made close up on a hanger, and then I'll try them on for you. So first let's go over the pattern envelope. And I need to get my readers. This is described as Mrs. Pullover Top with sleeve variations. And the fabric recommendations are batiks, challis, cotton types, crepe de chine, double georgette, lightweight linen types, seersucker, and silky types. And extra fabric is needed to match plaids, stripes, or one-way design fabrics. And the notions you'll need are thread and 1 3/8 inch button and 1 2-inch length of elastic cord. And the size range goes from a 6 to a 22, and that covers a bust of 30.5 to 44, a waist of 23 to 37, and a hip, and they say 9 inches below the waist, of 32.5 to 46 inches. And it also calls for interfacing 3/8 of a yard of lightweight fusible, but I didn't use interfacing. I rarely do, actually. And the fabric yardage you need, depending on how wide the fabric is on the bolt, goes anywhere from 1 1/4 yards to 2 3/4 yards, depending on the width of the fabric on the bolt and what size you're making. And it actually has the finished garment measurements for the bust on the envelope, if you can believe that. And it goes from 35 inches to 48.5 inches. And I will tell you that there is 4.5 inches of ease in the bust on this pattern. And it also gives you the finished back length from the base of the neck, and that goes from 23 inches to 25 inches. And here are the line drawings that are on the instructions. I think these are easier to see than the ones on the envelope. There's the front of view A and the back of view A. And if you want a top that looks super sharp and doesn't have a bazillion steps, this is the pattern for you. I am so impressed with this pattern. It's relatively quick sew and it's relatively easy, and the style is amazing, I think. So let me show you the pattern pieces. Oh, and I made the straight size 14, which is what I always make in Big 4. No variations. And here are the pattern pieces. There's a back facing and a front facing. This is cut on the fold. And the sleeve piece. Love me a big sleeve. And the back piece. And the front piece. So, not a lot of pieces to cut it all, but I will show you on the front, well, and the back, for view A, which is what I made, they ask that you cut it on the bias. See how the arrow's going diagonal? But I think that that is only if you want to achieve this look right here, with the stripes going like that. Because I did not cut mine on the bias and it worked out fine. So I don't think it has anything to do with fit, but I think it's just to achieve that diagonal stripe look. And correction, one of the versions I made, I did cut on the bias, but not one in the woven fabric. So here are my tops, and I will say that I went slightly rogue on one of them, and I went even more rogue on another. So the one that more closely resembles what the pattern instructions want you to do, I'm going to show you that first. So if you're not interested in going rogue, then I'll save the one that I went rogue for last. So here's the first one I'd like to show you. This is actually the second one I made. It's in this very pretty zebra print. My sister-in-law gave me this fabric, and it is a bottom weight fabric. It's pretty substantial. And like I said, I did not cut the front pieces on the bias. I just cut them straight. And there is a seam down the front, of course, because you have the tie. And then it has these amazing wide sleeves, which I love. And then here are the ties loose, untied. And I'll show you them tied when I put it on. And then here's the back. It has this keyhole opening, and then the elastic loop for the button, which I like that a lot, not having to do a buttonhole. And then I use this super cute little heart button that's kind of like a crystal, and my friend Tamara gave that to me. And it does have, let me unbutton this. There's the back facing, and it goes all the way around. And then there's the other side. And the changes I made on this, other than not cutting the front on the bias, is they want you to do a double fold for the hem on the split where it ties, and then all the way around the bottom, and also on the sleeves. And like my friend Talisha from Creativity by T says, I'm not here for that. Not for a double fold. So I did bias binding on the sleeves. I made the bias binding out of the same fabric. And I also did it around, starting where the tie is, and then all the way around the hem. And then back up the other side of the tie. And here's where being a quilter comes in handy. Check out that mitered corner there for my bias. I'm really pleased with that. So here is the woven version of the top, and then the back has a center back seam as well. And I will try that one on for you in a minute, but here's the first one I made. And I went really rogue on this one because I used a knit fabric, and the pattern calls for woven, but I used a knit. And since I used a knit, I didn't cut the back with the center back seam. I just cut it on the fold. And since I did that, I didn't need a facing. So I used bias binding instead all the way around. And I did cut the front on the bias. I just wanted to try that and see what it looked like. And this is a knit fabric, like I said, that my friend Trisha gave me. It's very pretty. It's really textured, which I like. And I did bias binding on the sleeves. I didn't have gray bias binding, and I really didn't want to go buy anything. I really tried to use what I have if it will work, and I think the white looks just fine. And the same for the neckline. I used white there. And for the tie, when you tie your tie, of course, the back, the reverse side is going to show inevitably. So I used gray grain ribbon that I had in my stash for that, and I think that looks really nice. And I used it from where the tie starts and then all the way around the hem. So I think that looks nice. And then no button or anything in the back, of course, since I cut it on the fold. And with this knit fabric, I used a 1/4 inch seam allowance. The pattern calls for a 5/8 seam allowance, but I used a 1/4 inch down the side. I did use 5/8 for the shoulder and the sleeves. So if you want to try this in knit, keep that in mind. But I highly recommend making this in knit fabric because it goes together so fast, because you don't have to fool with the facing or the button or anything like that. And I really love the look of it. So I'll go try these on for you. I'm back. Here's the one I made in the knit fabric, and I did cut this on the bias, so see if you can tell a difference between this one and the other one when I put it on. And then here are the fun sleeves. I love this top. And then here's the back. And then now I'll go try on the zebra print one for you. And here's the zebra print top, and since this is in a woven and I use the actual 5/8 seam allowance, it fits a little closer than the knit one, of course. So different looks depending on what fabric you use, which is, I really like that. The amazing sleeves. I'll turn around. Here's the back. And like I said, this one was not cut on the bias, and I think it worked out just fine. Okay, I'm back in my chair now. I did forget to mention that on the woven, I did set in sleeves, but when I used knit fabric, I didn't have to do them set in. I could just do them flat because you can stretch the knit to get it to fit. So there's another advantage of using knit fabric for this pattern, but that's my review of Simplicity 8601 View A. Let me know if you have made this pattern. Would you like to make it? Did I inspire you to make it? If you do make it and were inspired by this video, and if you're on Instagram, when you post your picture, please tag me because I would love to see it. This is a great pattern. Highly recommend. Lots of style for relatively little work. So as always, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch my video. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed to my channel thus far. It really means a lot to me. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would really appreciate it if you would. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bye!